our next chapter, which seems very spooky, and it's kind of spooky outside right now, so I think it's perfect. Our next chapter, you can see this very somber, serious, sad illustration. We know that Moll collapsed after she took the potion. We know Christopher is there to support her. The next chapter is called No Mortal Man Has Ever Returned. So let's get into it. It's a very quick chapter. So here we go. He carried her back to the boat. So Christopher carried Moll back to the boat, back through the wood and through the town. She was barely conscious, and though she wasn't heavy, he had to put her down often to shift her as his grip faltered. He ate when he paused to give himself courage. He had been given a woven bag of apples, of plums and pears and apricots, dryad fruit, like nothing else on earth. They tasted still living, fruits with opinions and jokes and laughter in them. I would love to try that. He laid her down in the boat. The skin around his eyes was purplish. It looked bad. Her eyes were brighter than they should be, and she shook without ceasing. Jacques looked peevish. I'm happy at least Jacques is with him. He seems always like a good guy to have around. In so far as dragons are able to look anything. What have you done to her? Nothing. She did it to herself. Aching, he hauled the sail of the boat and told Jacques his plan. If Moll could not walk the maze alone, he would go with her. She is the immortal one. Millie's very, very concerned. You should not go in with her. You should wait for her to be ready to go in alone. No mortal man has ever returned from the maze. So now we understand the name of this chapter. And what if she's never ready? He spat the words at the dragon, a little fleck of spit landing on its wing. The last immortal, the man who said no, what's his name? Merrick. He took months to be able to walk again. What if it's the same? We can't wait. The Glimmery is going to be lost. It's not just the archipelago. It's the whole of the world. It's everything. Everything. Do you understand that? It's my world, my home, my family. He thought of his father, of his grandfather, whom he could not warn. He could not be there to comfort them if darkness came, and the thought cut through him. His hands, as he pulled a rope taut, shook. Jacques turned away. You forgot yourself to speak in such times to a dragon. He waited another half hour before he said, You know, the boat of the immortal is dryad wood. I'm extremely aware of that, thank you. So you don't need to row or sail. You can just tell it where you want it to go. That's convenient. The look Christopher gave him made Jacques flinch, despite the dragon being so used to flames. The maze, Christopher told the boat. It took 28 hours to reach the island of Archie. Moll slept much of the way. She spoke the directions of the maze over and over. He fed her water and fruit and repeated the directions back to her. Jacques snatched a fish from the water and burned it half black, and she ate small flakes of that. Jacques watched Christopher as he recited the way through the maze back to her. Back and forth they went until he had it like a song etched in his mind. So it's actually very helpful. No mortal man has ever returned, said Jacques. You really are fantastic company. You know that, said Christopher. They spent the night half asleep, half walking, reciting. He found himself awakening with a jolt under the stars. Roused by his own voice aloud, speaking aloud, left, left, left. In the end, they stayed awake, staring up at the sky. It was alight with silver. It looked alive, an ancient, breathing thing. They had seen so much, he thought, and now everything else had fallen away. It was just him and Moll and the future of everything. Oceans and tides and earth in their hands. The thought was so vast it threatened to crush him. To stop the blood in his heart, and he moved so that his shoulder touched hers, and then she moved at the same time, and they lay side by side, watching the splendor of the infinitely fragile night pass overhead. The islands came in sight in the late morning. Christopher flinched as they approached. The water that rimmed it was angry and choppy, and waves spat seawater furiously into the air. He glanced at Moll, wrapped in her coat, and knelt beside her, as Nighthand had done to anchor her in place. But as they grew closer, the waves abruptly dropped, and Christopher could have steered the boat easily. He didn't, though. He waited for it to beach itself, and then he dropped anchor and stepped onto the island. It's happening, this moment we've all been waiting for. It was sandy and hot and so bright it dazzled him. Above them, the samalum hanging low in the sky burned too bright for him to look at. He helped Moll out of the boat and half carried her onto the shore. Ahead of them was a stretch of sand and a great rising of rocks. Amid the rocks was a cave-like entrance as wide as a double door. There was no doubt at all this was the way into the maze. Even before Moll pointed the way, he could feel it. The opening was cold, despite the warmth of the island. Moll sat in the shade of a rock, kneading at her legs with sharp little fingers. A tree would have been better, but there was only one tree in sight, a thorn tree, which could not be leaned against. She bit her tongue between her teeth. "We should go," she said. He slung a coil of boat rope tied with a loop at one end around his shoulder. Moll, that's something actually very smart to bring into a maze, Christopher. Moll braced her arm inside his. It clearly hurt her to walk. He could hear her teeth grinding together. Such an interesting detail. When someone's in great, great pain, sometimes our body naturally does this and we grind our teeth together. So that's a really interesting detail that this expert writer, Katherine Rundell, has included. So instead of saying she was in great pain or she was in great discomfort, instead she's including that detail that she's grinding her teeth together, which makes us understand that, when someone's grinding their teeth together, that means that they're in a whole lot of pain. So this poor girl, as she's entering into the maze, she's just not doing well at all. "Are you okay?" he said. She turned to him, and it was such an absurd question that both gave a snort of laughter, because indeed she is not okay at all. She is about to embark into this maze, and we don't really know what's going to happen after that. She turned to him, and it was such an absurd question. Oh, sorry, they both were laughing. Together, Christopher and Moll approached the mouth of the cave. Together, longing to turn back, knowing they must go forward, they stepped inside. My friends, our next chapter is indeed the maze. So stay tuned. We are getting dangerously close to the end of the book. So we have lots of action waiting for us. I want you to think about all of those awesome questions that bubble into your head as a reader. Some questions I'm thinking about are, what is going to happen in the maze? Are the directions that she's reciting correct? Are they going to encounter anything dangerous in the maze? Is it going to be difficult? How long is it going to take? What questions are bubbling up in your brain? Are they the same as mine? You guys always have the best questions, so I can only imagine what you're thinking right now. So stay tuned. I cannot wait to read The Maze with you. Excellent reading. I'm so happy that you're keeping up with this book with me. It's so fun to be on this journey. I love you, and I will see you soon.